Alright, what's going on, everybody? It's fucking here again for another tier list video. Last time we talked about just an overall Tekken 7 tier list, strong, weak tier list. And, I think it went pretty well for me. And I decided to do a Soul Calibur tier list. And I promised you guys that this would be my next tier list. And that's what we're doing today. Now, this is going to be, as you guys can see by the titles, it's going to be another difficulty tier list. And the main reason why I'm doing this is because my last Tekken 7 difficulty tier list got a lot of love and support. If y'all don't know, that video is almost at 1,000 views, which is pretty crazy. I have never had that many views on one video in general, not even a live stream. So I decided, you know what, let's do another difficulty tier list. And this one is going to be on for, as y'all see, Soul Calibur. And I'm also doing this because I know I've been getting a lot of people into Soul Calibur. I've been getting more Soul Calibur players around me. It's not just Tekken, because honestly, fuck that game. And honestly, I'm feeling great. And I think I can definitely do some future Soul Calibur things. But today, let's just get right into this difficulty tier list. So let's just begin. So at very hard, we've got Maxi, Raphael, Taki, Voldo, Hilda, and Seska. By the way, before I do begin, just like I said in the Tekken video, all of this is my personal opinion. I know in the Tekken tier list, I had a bunch of different opinions on certain characters. That might be the case for Soul Calibur as well. I just have very different opinions compared to other people. And if you don't agree with something, again, that's fine. Most people in that comment section were very respectful. But then you had one guy who, that was pretty disrespectful, but I'm not going to bring that up. So let's just get right into it. So very hard, we're starting with Maxi. And Maxi is not the hardest character in the game. Again, this is not in any particular order. It's not in any order. I'm just putting characters in a tier. So Maxi is not the hardest. I think you could argue Raphael or, I don't know, characters like that. But Maxi. I think Maxi is definitely very difficult. Maxi is one of the trickiest characters in the whole game when it comes to playing against him and even just using him in general. He has so many stance transitions, which you really do need to get used to, especially in this game. He has so many GIs, mix-ups, and this can all be thrown into the face of your opponent, which is always nice, but you still have to memorize the stances, memorize what stance you're in, and Maxi does have some serious problems, even though they have buffed him a bit for the version 2.20. I'm just pretending it's Season 3, even though it's not really Season 3. And, Heaven's Guard, when do you use that? The 7 rings, or whatever it's called, you need to know when you use that. You need to know what move you're using in Soul Charge. Maxi is overall just very, very complicated. You need to really keep this stuff in your mind, and you have to memorize what stance and what move you're going to use with him. Because if you do guess wrong, Maxi is you're going to get punished. And Maxi is very vulnerable when you're moving around, backdashing or sidestepping him, because he's stuck in stances, even though he does have GIs and Heaven's Guard. But Maxi is overall a very complicated character, for sure. Very complicated. Raphael is also very difficult in my opinion. He's very strong. He's arguably one of the best characters in the game. But kind of like with Maxi, you need to remember the stances. He's got a couple stances. You need to know what moves to use at the right time. And it kind of reminds me of Jin a little bit, where you have to use a good chunk of moves with him to make him really strong. And you also need great execution. Raphael does take some execution. Now, it's not like Tekken execution. We're talking about Soul Calibur execution. And Soul Calibur execution is easier compared to Tekken execution. But for Soul Calibur, Raphael does take execution. And again, you need to know what move to use for a certain purpose. Kind of like Jin. He really reminds me of Jin. He really does. But he's not as bad as Jin. He doesn't take as much execution. But once you have all the execution and the fundamentals, Raphael is super strong. Easily one of the best characters in the game. Definitely. He's very powerful. Taki also demands solid execution. And again, you need to know the cancels that she has into possession. You need to know some of her stances and some of her strings. She has a couple strings that you can abuse a little bit on people who don't know the matchup. But when people know the matchup, they're going to know the strings. They're going to know when to duck. They're going to know when to swat you out of possession. you really do need to work hard to play Taki well. She's not that strong in my opinion. She's been getting buffed a little bit, but she's still not the best character to play, especially for the execution you need. She's all right, and you also need if you can do her A6 just frame, that is easily the best 10 frame punish in the game. So you get some output with her, but you need very good execution, just like with Raphael. And you need to know how to use possession well, because most of the time she can just be swatted out of it, which it can be very annoying for the Taki player. Next here, I've got Voldo. And Voldo's a very, very confusion-based kind of character. Again, this is a character where if you don't know the matchup, you mud stomp people with this character. His Oki, it can be very nasty. His Mantis Crawl shit is, again, really nasty to deal with in this game compared to previous games. But again, there is a little bit of execution going into Voldo, getting some of his really, really good combos going. And if, again, another character where if they know the matchup, you really have to work hard. Voldo is not a very good character in this game. If you know the shit, then Voldo is not that scary. And I do play Voldo, so I know how it is. Most Voldos that I play, they just get blown up by me. But it's like, if I don't know the matchup, I get completely blown up. So it's like, that's why I think he's very hard. And again, he takes some execution. And you need to know, again, when you're in back turn, what should you do? Should you be in back turn? Should you be front turn? Can you go into stance? Like, you do need to know a couple of these things. You need to know about his CE, because when he's in back turn, I think his CE is 12 frames, which is ridiculously good. But you need to know that. And overall, I just don't think Voldo is super strong in this game compared to his previous iterations. He's all right, but just compared to other characters in the game, I just don't see him as, like, the most threatening character. That's why I find him very hard to play, if the opponent knows the matchup. Hilda also needs great execution. Most characters in this tier also, just like in Tekken, they need good execution. Basically everyone here. Hilda, you need to know the charge setups she has. You need to know her combos with those charge moves she has. I can't really explain them perfectly if you don't know the game. But if you know Soul Calibur, you know what I'm talking about with her. And again, she's all right. She's not a bad character, but I just find compared to other characters, I just feel more threatened by other characters in this game and like lower on the tier list compared to Hilda. But I think Hilda's still solid if you have the execution, if you have the mind games to use for her spear stuff and her sword stuff, then I think she is solid. And she has some decent Oki potential. But again, she's also very execution heavy, which is why, especially for Soul Calibur, she's really high in execution for a Soul Calibur character because of the charge stuff she has. And again, she's not the strongest character on the roster. And then finally, for very hard, I have Seska. Now, Seska did just come out, so some people are still wondering like how strong she is. I think she is very strong. I don't know what tier though, but the reason why she's at very hard is, again, super demanding in execution. She is one of the most execution-heavy characters in the game. Now, they did numb her down from Soul Calibur 4 and Soul Calibur 5. I mean, you had 8 and Soul Calibur 5, but it was the same style. I mean, I think she was much harder in those games. She's a lot easier in this game. However, she is still very execution-heavy. And if you want to do the easy mode options of some of her combos, you do sacrifice some of your meter, which this game is very meter-dependent, so that's why that is a problem. But if you have the execution, holy shit, this character is, I know she's going to be fucking strong. She's going to be really, really good. Really powerful character. And her combos, like, yeah. She has some of the most difficult just frames in the game. Her just frames are very hard to pull off. I mean, they're easier than in previous games, but they're still hard. And it's not like you have to do them, but if you do them, then yeah, you get more damage and more reward in my opinion. But yeah, I think Seska's hard. Not an easy character whatsoever. Now, next up we have hard, and I've got 2B, Cervantes, Nightmare, Talum, Shangwa, Yoshi, and Harumaru. So 2B, this is another character kind of like with Voldo, where if the opponent doesn't know how to fight 2B, and you don't see a shitload of 2Bs by the way, in my opinion, to me I don't see a lot of 2Bs, this is a character where if you don't know the matchup, again, she just blows you up. She has ridiculous strings and mix-ups, where if you don't know what you're doing and you just freeze up, she'll just mix you up all day, and you'll just keep getting counter hit over and over. And her soul charge is so... excuse me. Her soul charge is even fucking worse. Her soul charge is like... holy shit, it's ridiculous. She just has a lot of weird shit. But the reason why I put her at hard is when the opponent knows the matchup and knows the strings and is guessing around your mix-ups, I don't think 2B is a great character. Because her frames and neutrals suck. I've lapped her, and her frames are just some of the worst in the game. Terrible, terrible, terrible frames. She cannot poke. And her lows are not very good. They're a bit slow or very sluggish when it comes to frames. I just don't see her as, like, super strong. And if the opponent knows the matchup, you really need to work very hard to play 2B. But it's not impossible. She's absolutely usable. There are players that can make her work. But yeah, when people don't know the matchup, I mean, yeah, you get free wins all over the place, which is why I didn't put her at very hard. But if we're taking into consideration on if they do know the matchup, yeah, you have to work hard because she's very punishable. Her frames suck. And yeah, she has a lot of highs in her strings. And she's also very vulnerable to reversal edge. I hate reversal edge, but against 2B, it's like a fucking blessing to have it. So yeah, keep that in mind with her. Cervantes. Next up we got Cervantes. Cervantes is another extremely, extremely strong character. Very good. But just like with the other characters I mentioned so far, he's very execution heavy. He needs good execution. You're playing a very advanced character. But once you get the execution, then this character has some of the best combos, some of the best whiff punishment in the game. His whiff punishment just becomes crazy with his core circle back B, the fast input version of that. And his combos are really good. His soul charge is great. The reason why I didn't put him at very hard was, like, you need the execution, but it's doable. You can do it. It's not that bad. And once you get it, holy shit, you have a really fucking powerful whiff punish character. And combo damage character in general. He's a combo damage monster. And you don't need to use a lot of moves with Cervantes. You have A6, 2A plus B. You don't need that many moves with Cervantes to do very well with him. Oh yeah, K2. 2-2K, I think. No, 1-1K, not 2-2K. 1-1K. Great lows. His mids are good. He's overall I think he's extremely... oh, shit. He's very, very good. So that's why I didn't put him at very hard. But he's still execution heavy. Now, next, this is going to be interesting. Nightmare. Some people are going to completely disagree with me. People think Nightmare is really fucking easy because of his ridiculous armor moves. His Night Terror is just super stupid. His Soul Charge alone is insanely powerful. His combo damage is, like, through the roof. He's like, if Nightmare will do a shitload of damage every time he touches you. If Nightmare touches you, you're going to lose a lot of your health. He hits like a truck. However, there's one major flaw with him, in my opinion. He does not have a 12 frame. Or people call it an I-12. He does not have an I-12. Which, from standing or while standing, his fastest move is I-14 with the standing K. Which is a good counter hit tool, but that's still a big, big, big problem with Nightmare. He's much more vulnerable to being pressured compared to most characters, and he cannot punish minus 12 moves. He can't. So if, let's say you're doing a launcher that's minus 12, you could literally abuse it against Nightmare because he cannot punish it. And he's overall he's super sluggish, very, very slow to get going. But when he does get going, he does hit hard, but you have to work really hard to get that stuff going. So because of that, I just don't see Nightmare as a very easy character. If people know how to deal with Nightmare, holy shit, is it hard to play Nightmare. I think it's very hard. And there's a little bit of execution with him, with the AGA. But other than that, there's not much execution with him. But I think Nightmare is hard because of that. At lower levels, even at lower levels of play, again, he's just... when people are smacking in your face, even with the armor moves, I still think he can have a hard time. Especially if the opponent's constantly doing lows or throws. Because Nightmare can't armor those. Next up, we have Talon. Talon, I think, is a very solid character. Very high pressure, mix-up based kind of character. She'll be jumping around the stage. She overall has some pretty decent stuff. And her Soul Charge, yeah, go fuck yourself. And her fucking Critical Edge, probably the best critical edge in the game. I mean, it hits from across the stage. You can use it as a whiff punish. And on block, you can continue pressure because she can cancel it into her stances. And her reverse ledge cancels are also super annoying. But there is a little bit of execution going into Talon. And again, you need to know the strings. You need to know the mix-ups. You need to know a lot of things to play Talon well. I mean, if you want to play her well. Again, this is another character where you get away with a lot of shit in the lower ranks. You destroy people with her. But once you get into the higher levels of play, you really see her flaws. I've seen more of her flaws the more I play against Talons. So that's why I do consider her a hard character. I do consider her hard. I don't consider her super easy when it comes to the higher levels of play. But lower levels of play, yeah, you can really, have fun. But you need to know the stances and stuff like that. So that's why I don't consider her easy. And next we have Xianghua. Now this is a character I'm not 100% familiar with because I don't really use her. But I know that she isn't easy. She is a very safe character, I know that. She has really good Oki and launchers. That's always nice to have. But, excuse me, there are some things you do have to know playing Xianghua. Like, some of her strings are just not very good. Her soul charge, I know, is trash tier. I think it's the worst soul charge in the game. Her soul charge is just a fat joke. Her critical edge is good. But, again, you need to know the stances that she does have. You need to know some of the strings. You can't just go full on offense with her. I just think that she's just vulnerable. She does have some good auto GIs that give lethal hits, which is great. But I think you need to be a very solid defensive player to play Xianghua. Because you can't just mash buns with Xianghua. It just doesn't really work. I mean, she has a 10-frame AA, I think, and a 12-frame CE, which is great for interrupting people, which is more defensive stuff. But, yeah, just offense stuff with her just isn't good. And I just feel like you just need to be a very strong defensive player to set up the auto GIs, to set up the critical edges, to set up the AAs, the Oki. I just think you need to be a good defensive player to play Xianghua well, in my personal opinion. Yoshi. Yoshi's another character. I don't like fighting Yoshis, but this is a character where, again, there is some execution with some of his really high damage combos, if you really want to get into those. Again, you need to know the stances. You need to know, again, if the opponent doesn't know the stances and shit like that, you can just beat the shit out of your opponent. If the opponent doesn't know how to fight Yoshi, again, you're going to destroy them with his weird shit. But once people do know how to fight Yoshi, I think Yoshi's still good, but he's harder to use. Again, a little bit of execution. Need to know some of the stances. But other than that, he's not too bad. And I think he's a solid character as well. This is a character that you could put in average. Yoshi, I'm not the best with him. But yeah, you could say that he's either average or hard. I wouldn't, he's not very hard though. I wouldn't call him very hard, but I wouldn't call him easy either. So you can argue him being in hard or average. And the final character I have at hard, I've got Harumaru. Now I think Harumaru is quite good. I think he has amazing whiff punishment. I think he has really weird stuff in general. But again, another very execution heavy character. Kind of reminds me of Akuma a little bit with some of the motions you have to do. He's nowhere near as hard as Akuma though. But there are some core circle forward motions and core circle back motions and up, down, back, down, forward. There's a lot of specific inputs you need to do to get his really good moves out. And again, you need to know what move you're using at a certain time. You need to know the cancels he has, the stances he has, the soul charge stuff he has. That's very unique, especially when he's in his final mode where he has, I think, is it back A plus K, where he'll literally go across the stage and slice you in half, and it does a ton of damage, especially when you're in soul charge. You need to know a lot of these things, which is why I think that Harumaru is kind of complicated. I think he's very complicated for sure. But once you know all that stuff, I think you have a very solid character. And he's not, I mean, actually, yeah, he is, my bad. He has unique good execution. And now we're going to get to average characters that I feel, are like the average characters in the game. They're not easy, but they're not hard. They're solid. So here I got Astaroth, Geralt, Kilik, Mitsurugi, Sophie, and Terra. So, Astaroth. I think that Astaroth, people could say he's easy because of his ridiculous throws. But the thing with Astaroth is he's just another relatively sluggish character to get going. But there's a little bit of execution with him when it comes to throws. And he's not a very strong character. You do need to know some things to play Astaroth. But I don't know if I would say it's on the point of Nightmare. Because Astaroth does have an I-12, unlike Nightmare that doesn't. And Astaroth is not that strong. I would probably put him at low tier or mid-low if people know the matchup. But this is a character where if the opponent doesn't know the matchup, you just throw all day and you stomp through people. This character can literally kill you in just a few hits. But in higher levels of play, it's really just about the read. If you make all the right reads with Astaroth, you destroy your opponent. But if the opponent makes all the right reads on you, then you're going to get blown up. That's basically how Astaroth works. It kind of reminds me of Anna a little bit, where it's like, it's all about the read. If you make all the reads right, you win. If you don't, you get destroyed. That's basically Astaroth. So that's why I can't really call Astaroth an easy character. People think he is annoying. He is very annoying to fight. But if you know what you're doing and you're breaking all the throws, Astaroth is gonna struggle. So just keep that in mind. Geralt is basically he's basically like the fundamental character of Soul Calibur, kind of like Kazumi. The only thing really hard with him, he doesn't take much execution, but the thing with him is that you do need very strong fundamentals to play Geralt well. But if you have that, you have a very solid character, extremely solid character. Other than that, I don't see Geralt as a very hard character. But again, he's kind of like Kazumi. But I don't think he's as good as Kazumi, though. Kilik kind of reminds me of Geralt as well, where you have to play very fundamental-wise. Because, you know, he just doesn't have a lot of wild, gimmicky shit that you can rely on outside of Soul Charge. But I think Kilik is alright. He's not a bad character. He doesn't take that much execution. I mean, he doesn't really take any execution as far as I know of. But again, he's just another very honest character, kind of like Geralt. You need solid fundamentals to play Kilik well. But other than that, he's not that hard to play. Not that difficult. Mitsurugi. You need to know some frames with him. This is a character kind of reminds me of Shangwall. You can't really just hit buttons with him, or you're going to get hit. He doesn't have the best frames, and he is relatively risky on a lot of his lows. And he has a little bit of execution. I don't think he's as good as Harumaru, but again, other than that stuff, he's not that hard to play. But he's definitely not easy. He's not an easy character to play. Like, you do need to know some things to play a decent Mitsurugi. Sorry, I'm going a little bit faster here. I'm just trying to. I don't want to lose my voice. Next up is Sophie. Sophie, this is an interesting choice. I know some people might put her at easy or maybe even scrub mode because she is extremely strong. Her Soul Charge and Soul Attack, are some of the best in the game. They're just busted. I mean, they did nerf the Soul Charge. They did nerf both those moves, thank God. But I still think they're extremely good. Her whiff punishment and block punishment is incredibly strong. You can't really move against Sophie because of her tracking moves. So you might think, okay, well then why is she at average? Shouldn't she be at easy or scrub mode? Well, the reason why she's at average is because she takes execution. She has some of the most highest execution when it comes to combos with her stab. Her stab, it takes execution to do kind of things like this. And the double dash she has, again, execution. You do need to do lightning fast quarter circles, which is why I think she takes solid execution. But once you have the execution, yeah, you have a very, very powerful character. Very powerful. But again, you need the quarter circle forwards. You need them. That's really high in execution. It's high in execution to do that stuff lightning fast. That's why I put her at average. But other than that, she's not a hard character. And then we have Tira. Tira overall is, just not very hard in my opinion. I think she's a solid character. There's nothing too insanely hard with her. She takes not much execution. You do have to have some fundamentals because her frames, especially in Jolly, aren't the best. But other than that, she's not that hard in my opinion. I'm not the best at explaining Tira. Because, again, I'm not the most knowledgeable of her. But I think that, she's not easy, but she isn't hard. in my personal opinion. Unless if there's something with her that I'm missing. Let's see here. And now we're going to move on to easy. This is going to be interesting. So first up we have Amy, Aswell, Grow, and Sungmina. So, Amy, this is interesting. Some people think that Amy is around average or hard. I actually originally had her in scrub mode, but I decided to move her up a tier because she has some execution, like some of it. And you do need to know some of the strings and some of the auto GI she has and some of the stances she does have. You do need to know some of these things. But again, her execution, like I said, isn't very... You don't need much execution to play her. You do need to know some of the stances. But once you have those stances known, she is arguably the best character in the game. This character is just so fucking obnoxious. Her mix-ups are great. Her defense game is amazing. Her offensive game is amazing. She's overall quite solid. She's quite versatile. Kind of like with Raphael. But the thing that really puts her here is when she has full roses. And it's so easy to get roses in this game. Now, if we're talking about Soul Calibur before Amy, she probably would be at hard tier. But this Amy is like a whole different Amy. It's so easy to get roses now. And once you get all 4 red and white roses, she is easily the best character in the game. They did nerf the roses a little bit, but they are still obnoxious. And you can't really move around versus Amy because of her amazing 3A. And her fucking 4A. That low is a bitch. 4AA, fuck that low. Even though they did nerf it. It's still stupid. And you don't, especially when she's in all roses, she's basically kind of brain dead. You don't need to do a whole lot with when she has those roses. And again, they're so easy to get. So that's the reason why I think Amy is easy, in my opinion. Some people might disagree with me on her, but I just think that she's just ridiculously powerful. Aswell, another interesting pick. I think Aswell is really fucking annoying. I hate this character. The only thing I consider hard with him is knowing what stance you're in. You need to know if you're either in sword stance, axe stance, or spear stance. But that's the only thing I consider hard with Aswell. Once you have all that stuff memorized and you know what move goes into what, this character is extremely fucking strong. He takes basically no execution. He has a lot of extremely stupid attacks. Now, and his soul charge, yeah, fuck his soul charge. It's so brain dead. But the reason why I didn't put him at scrub mode is because he has been getting nerfed a lot. If this was season 1 as well, he would easily be down at scrub mode. Easy. It would be literally no work playing as well. But since they've been nerfing him a bit, I decided to move him up a tier. Next up is Grow. Now, Grow technically on paper isn't a very strong character. They have been buffing him a lot, thank God, because Grow has always been low tier. But he is designed to be very easy. There's no execution. There's only one stance you have to memorize. I mean, obviously at pro level he's going to be difficult. People will know the matchup. But again, he's designed to be easy. He's not designed to be a difficult character. And a character like him, and his soul charge is one of the best in the game. His soul charge is obnoxious. Very gimmicky, but very, very fucking good. And again, not much work to use it. But since he's not a very strong character, that's why I didn't put him at scrub mode. That's why, again, I put him at easy. Because, again, he's not very strong when people know the matchup. And then the final character at easy, I put Sungmina. Now, again, if this was season 1 or beginning of season 2 Sungmina, I think that she would also be at scrub mode. I originally had her at scrub mode, but they have been, kind of like with Aswell, they've been nerfing her a lot. Thank God, because this character is so obnoxious. Her range tools are some of the best in the game. And her ring out potential is one of the best. Her soul charge is ridiculously good. And even in close range, she has some tools at close range. Not the best close range tools, but still, like, a 12 frame down A is always nice to have for a character like her. Her full crouch mix-up is just dumb, even though they did nerf it. Thank God. But the reason why... But, look, again, if we're talking about the early Sungmina, I easily would put her at scrub mode. But since they've been nerfing her a lot, I decided to, again, move her up a tier. She's still easy, though. But another thing with Sungmina that does make her harder to use compared to other characters is you can't make too many mistakes playing with Sungmina. With some characters, you can make a few mistakes and you'll still be okay. But with Somina, if you're like really rushing down a Somina and if they're making too many mistakes, you basically destroy them. So that's why that's why I wouldn't call her scrub friendly. So that's why I said, but she's still easy. Because again, she doesn't take any execution really. So I did move her up a tier because of that. I did take that into consideration. And now we're going to get into the final tier, the scrub mode category, in my personal opinion. Now, obviously, Inferno isn't playable, so I'm not even going to mention him. We all know he's overpowered. But yeah, for scrub mode, you got Ivy, Siegfried, Zossimel, and Cassandra. So Ivy, some of the most ridiculous range tools in the game. Her command throws are just, even though they were nerfed, I still think that they're ridiculous. They're so easy to do. And they're almost impossible to break. I mean, Calamity Symphony is almost impossible to break. Summon Suffering, I can't break. I legit can't break that throw. Her combo damage is ridiculous. Her Oki is god tier with those command grabs and that stomp she has. Again, her ranged moves are just ridiculous. And she even has decent range at close. She has decent tools at close range. That's what I was trying to say. They have been nerfing her, kind of like with Somina and Aswell, but I think she's still ridiculously easy for little effort, honestly, you have to put in. There's not much execution. Some people think there's execution into her. Not really. And there is one just frame I consider hard with her, where she's in her stance with the BBB just frame. Other than that, there's nothing I see hard about Ivy in this game. And again, she's so strong in my opinion. Siegfried. This is a character that, again, if this was Season 1, easily be one of the scrubbiest characters in the game. Again, this is another character that has been getting nerfed, but I still think that he's incredibly easy, and he's still very, very strong. His A-Slide B, that move alone is, like, super dumb. That move is ridiculous. That move is still ridiculously good. His range is incredible. Really good range. He has good combo damage. His mix-ups are good. He has okay moves at close range. Not the best close range tools, but this man will keep you out. He's really good at keeping you out. Like this guy's good at that, Siegfried. And again, the only thing execution heavy is maybe AGA. Kind of like with Nightmare. But that's it. And it's not like you have to do that. You don't even have to do that. With Nightmare, you kind of have to. But with Siegfried, that's not really the case. You don't have to. And I think Siegfried is ridiculously good. And his critical edge is also incredibly powerful. Oh, I forgot to mention, yeah, Ivy has a really good soul charge as well. It's very good. It has plenty of mix-ups and bullshit from there. Siegfried's soul charge is not that great in my opinion, thank God, but because he doesn't have the best mirror stuff outside of his critical edge. His critical edge is very powerful though. No execution, easily whip punch. And even if you mess it up, it's safe on block, so good stuff. And next we have Zossimel, a character that really didn't get nerfed. He got nerfed a little bit, but like, he still got some buffs for some stupid reason. Zossimel is also incredibly strong. And again, takes no execution. His damage is through the roof. His range is crazy. He has amazing close range tools. His curses are just super powerful. Again, no execution. And you don't even need to use a lot of moves with Zossimel. You can just use a couple of moves with Zossimel, and you can get carried very far. The only thing hard with him, in my opinion, is understanding the curses, like how many you have, when can you use them in combos and stuff like that. But other than that, he takes no work at all, and he's so strong. And his soul charge is also very simple to understand. And again, it's very powerful, especially with the A plus B bubble he has. Very, very powerful. Makes people not want to come in. And then the final character, this isn't the scrubbiest character, again, it's not in order, but the final scrub tier character, in my opinion, or scrub mode character, piss easy, is Cassandra. This character, some people could disagree with me on this pick, but the thing with Cassandra is, like, her pressure and her frames is insanely stupid. She could just keep going in on you. Her pressure and frames are incredibly good. You can legit smack buttons with Cassandra, and it can work pretty well. She has amazing frames. Her range, not the best, and she doesn't have the best tracking, but she has some okay mids, A's to shut that down. Her soul charge is stupid, really brain dead soul charge makes her even more annoying to deal with. Her divine force is also extremely powerful. They did nerf her damage a little bit, thank God, because her damage, she hit like a truck. And she also has pretty good mix-ups. And again, great frames. Soul charge is incredible. Her 6B, A plus B, thank God that move was nerfed, but that move is still very good in my opinion. And again, she doesn't take any execution. And I still think she's very strong. Very strong character. And I mean, yeah, that's basically it. That's basically my my difficulty tier list. I think that it's a pretty decent tier list. Again, there's some characters that I am still debating. I don't know everyone super well, but I still have an idea of like what character can go where in a difficulty tier list. So, give me guys your opinions down in the comment section. If there's a character you do want to talk about, I'll be happy to talk about it with you. And yeah, that's all I really have to say. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you everyone for stopping by. This is Falcon. Peace out everyone.